Hello and welcome to Home and Liberty. I'm your host, and in a few minutes we're going to talk about this new controversial law in Greece that allows children to register for whatever sex they decide. More for that when we come back. Again, welcome to Home and Liberty. I am your host, and today we're talking about this new law that has come into effect in Greece that's very controversial, as it should be. Basically, this is a law that allows anyone from age 15 up to register whatever sex that they desire. And this is not something unusual for Europe and the European societies to do. But what's really unusual about Greece is that over 70% of the country opposes this new law. I mean, just flat out opposes it, even across all ages. And so, why is that important to us in the United States? Why should we even care? Hey, it's Greece. Let them go, because Greece is part of this greater global problem of global assimilation, that this movement that we all standardize. Matter of fact, one statement of the reason that they did this was because Greece had failed to meet the European standard. And if you know anything about the Greek economy, they're in huge debt right now. There's problems. They're upside down, and these creditors are putting a lot of pressure on Greece to do what they want them to do. The European Union's putting a lot of pressure on Greece. And so there's this control over the Greek legislature that is just outstanding. So they've gotten themselves in this place to where, because of money, because of globalism, that they are being forced to do this. So the reason this is important for us in the United States is that as we expand out globally, and we become more involved in this process of being a global people, we too are seeing this effect on our homes, our lives, and in our own country. Think about the United Nations and the news, and how many times that we actually hear brought up, well, the U.S. is getting pressure from the United Nations to do this, that, and the other. We're actually getting pressure to change our own laws regarding transgenderism and homosexuality. We're getting pressure to change the way that we treat religion. We were pressured under the taking in of refugees and migrants, and so this is very significant for us. We can see the power of this movement over a people, democratic government, that the people had no voice. I mean, today they wake up and all of a sudden the laws have changed, and they're going, what happened? Where is this? And something you need to know about Greece is that Greece is one of the central locations for the Eastern Orthodox Church. Mount Athos is one of the most sacred sites in Orthodoxy, and Athos came out with a statement opposing this law and decrying this law because it is dangerous. It is destructive. And I grew up in evangelicalism here in the United States, and one of the things that we talked about, we would say, the United States is special because we're Christian. We're Christian, and we're going to be exempt from this. And you'll see. And all along we've lost a lot of freedom, and we lost a lot of say so, and we've seen this culture, our culture, change more towards the global side of things. The mindset, our universities have changed and moved even farther into this I don't even want to say liberal, but this ungodly mindset that we embrace these values that are not inherent to our past and our history. The same thing with Greece. If you think about Eastern Orthodoxy and the saints and how they've made this stand all along these years about not just traditional marriage, but just the sanctity of God's word, the sanctity of the traditions of the church, and to see this happen in Greece is just really, really shocking. And so, over 70% of the people have stated that they are opposed to it. And you can go online and you can look at this, and there is no shortage of news articles. Most of them are supportive and of this. But let me read this to you. In a roll call vote over the controversial law, 148 deputies voted in favor, 124 against, with 13 abstaining. In all, 285 of the 300 deputies voted. Although the bill passed, the vote represents the first time the current government failed to garner a majority of votes, despite the fact that the ruling coalition has 153 deputies. 140 of the 144 Syriza deputies voted in favor. Several of the parties that are in Greece opposed it. So it was a real tight vote. I mean, you look at this, what are you going to say? Where does this leave us? Where are we going to be in this as we see influence from outside the United States coming in and influence not only our society, but our education system, influencing every aspect of our lives? And we look at it and say, well, this is inevitable. And I'll remind you, back in Genesis, we find the Tower of Babel, that God came in and there was a one world government. And God said, this is not beneficial for man to have this mass collection of ideas, and he split man up. And so what we're seeing is man's trying to undo that and come back to with these ideas. But who gets to decide which ideas are preeminent? So far, we can tell that it's not a Christian ideology. It's not a moral ideology, a Judeo-Christian belief system that's going to be promoted here. It is not an ideology that allows for personal freedom. It's not one that allows for decency. And so, I mean, we have to decide, are we going to be part of this globalization or what are we going to do? And I think that's the question that we need to ask ourselves. And I think here's some of the things that we've decided to do in our own home. Is the first thing is that our generation is absorbing the outer layer of this. It's our children and our children's children that's going to have these problems to deal with as we move forward. I think the thing is that we lay a firm foundation with our children, that they understand the dangers of these ideas. We have to really, really instruct our children to understand that things that are sinful and wrong are sinful and wrong regardless of what the populace states. We have to teach our children that our government, though we're glad to live here and we're proud to be where we were born, we can't always trust our government. We can't trust what they hand us. We can't trust the direction that they're leading us, and we need to be very vocal about that. And above all, I think that we need to teach our children to have a faith in God that is not tarnished by the doubts that are going to be implanted in their minds. Here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a session where my wife and I talk about how can we send our children to a university or a college, and how can we prepare them to go if they choose an occupation that's going to put them there, because we know this much, that their minds are going to be saturated with doubts, just enough to get them to question the basic foundations of their faith. We live in a day and age where there are no absolutes. I mean, take this law for instance. Gender is an absolute. I mean, you can say how you feel, what you want to be. It doesn't matter, but you're born with a gender. You are born with that gender. You are born with that. That's not changeable. I mean, you can say it's changeable, but you can't change how you were born. And so we say, by how you were born. So we say, well, this is, it's not absolute. Well, yeah, it is. But if that's not, then they move on. What about morals? Well, that's not absolute. God didn't mean what he said. He really didn't mean that. And then we get into our laws. Well, the law really doesn't mean that. There's a blurring of the lines on what's legal and what's not. Now we've switched over from the rule of law being the absolute to where maybe it's my personal preference to be a criminal that's absolute. And so, police officers are being hated. They're actually being attacked, and thankfully, it seems to have calmed and a lot. But it just seems like there's a certain insanity that we have, and the more that we allow this globalization to come into our country, the more that we allow it to come into our homes, the worse that it's going to be for us. So why should we care about what's happening in Greece? Because it can happen here, and it is happening here. And just take note as you watch the news and you read articles online and you're on Facebook, and just take note of how many times that you hear in a single day. Well, this is the way they do it here, and they'll give some country somewhere, Sweden or Germany or whatnot. This is how they do it here, and we should do it that way. And sometimes they're right. There's some things that others are doing that we should learn from. But in all, I don't know that we need to merge with everything that's going on. I know we don't. We don't need to merge because this is what it brings. We don't need to be putting ourselves out there to where we're indebted to these nations who don't share the same values as we do. And that is the problem. It's becoming unclear. What are the values in the United States? What are the values of our population? And I can't answer for everyone, but I know what mine are, and I think I know what yours, where you stand on things. And so we need to be vocal about this. We need to understand this. And so if you have children, start out by talking to them about these issues. Let them know that something that's legal is not necessarily right. Let them know that that is an absolute, that what is right and what is good is what we do. So as we think about this and we go forward in the next few weeks, come back and be with us as we discuss. We want to discuss what happens when your child goes to college or university. Is it a beneficial thing? Well, of course. I mean, there are things that we know that we have to be trained for. Certain jobs, aspects we have. My wife and I are both college graduates and grad school graduates. My wife has 2 masters, Master of Arts in Teaching, and I have a Master of Education. Just bring that up to make the point. We understand that life, and we understand the influences that your children are going to face. And in an increasingly global world, an increasingly global society, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. We still have a voice. Unlike the people of Greece, we still have a voice. We can speak out, and I think we should. I think we should speak out for those things and those values that we hold dear. So this is Home and Liberty, and we're glad that you came and that you listened. Please put your comments below. Let's have a discussion on this. I'll just let you know up front, we're not going to put up with trolls. No troll zone here, and but we'll have a good discussion about this. Ask questions if you have questions about your children, about education. If you have questions about our family, any of the things that you see on the videos that comes up, just pop them in there, and we'll be happy to listen to them. Until next time, this is Jonesy saying, have a good week.